Hello and welcome to all. Social networks such as TikTok, Instagram, or Snapchat are tools that, when used correctly, can bring cultures and people of the world closer together and thus weld them into a joyful communion. But the truth is that these social platforms are mostly places that serve as a refuge for people who have no reference points in real life. Inside this virtual bubble, these people feel safe and can even feel the joy of living, even though in the end they are only living vicariously. The real danger of this pathetic charade lies in the bursting of this bubble that was thought to be indestructible and the harsh return to reality that inexorably results. The story you are going to listen to today concerns one of these new TikTok stars who in a short time managed to reach notoriety and material wealth. A meteoric rise that brought fame and money to this character, but which finally ended in a tragic and unfortunate end. So make yourselves comfortable and dim your lights, because we are going to dive directly into the pitiful destiny of Ali Abulaban, a young comedian on TikTok who has a very sinister sense of humor. The sad and sordid story of Ali Abulaban began in 2016 when this young American comedian of Palestinian origin met the one who would become his wife, the beautiful young woman who had the sweet name of Anna Marie. The latter had fallen immediately in love with this handsome brunette with a bright smile and fine features. Their feelings towards each other were so strong that they finally decided, after not even a year, to unite for better or for worse and in front of witnesses. The young couple then left to settle in California, the hub of American cinema and vacation spot of many stars of the big screen. The two young people set down their luggage in the city of San Diego, located 2.5 hours away from Los Angeles. Their love will soon bear fruit with the birth of the beautiful little Amina, a pretty little baby who looked like 2 drops of water to his mother. Everything seemed to smile to the young couple, especially that Ali had managed to make a name for himself on social networks and that his growing fame ensured them a rather substantial income. Ali Abulaban was indeed called Jinn Kid on TikTok and Instagram, and he specialized in videos of parodies of celebrities and rappers, including the very controversial 6ix9ine. Ali was also shooting comedy sketches on the world of video games, including the famous Skyrim, and did not hesitate to use the charms of his beautiful wife to accompany him in these videos. But it is indeed under the features of Tony Montana, the famous Cuban gangster of the cult movie Scarface, that the young influencer will become immensely famous. Ali looked a lot like the actor Al Pacino when he was young, so much so that he was often taken for his official look-alike. He decided to take advantage of this resemblance by taking on the actor's leading roles, such as the Cuban badass Antonio Montana or the charismatic but deadly Michael Corleone from the film The Godfather. The almost universal fame of these two masterpieces of American cinema had thus allowed Jinn Kid to reach an even wider audience of movie lovers and lovers of the seventh art. His fame reached new heights, and in a very short time, the young influencer was able to gain hundreds of thousands of followers on his main social networks. By the year 2020, Ali Abulaban's TikTok account had nearly 950,000 followers, while he had just over 250,000 on Instagram. This meteoric rise opened the doors of success to the young comedian, who already saw himself becoming a great actor and being adored by millions of people around the world. This sweet dream that he cherished since his childhood was perhaps finally going to be realized. Who knows? Especially since Hollywood was not far away, with its boulevard of stars and its billionaire producers constantly looking for young talents like him. Ali Abulaban saw the life in pink, especially since his commercial partnerships and advertising contracts ensured him very satisfactory emoluments and allowed him to lead a real pasha life. The young influencer and his wife moved into a beautiful apartment in the Spire San Diego building, an ultra-luxurious skyscraper located in the East Village. The couple will live there in joy and carefree, since Ali's fees were more than enough to cover all expenses, including the most excessive. But Anna Marie was not an idle woman, and even though she had absolutely nothing to spare, she felt the need to work and fill her time. So she found a job in a large computer company, and at the same time, she was busy with her Instagram account, where she already had almost 12,000 followers. Anna Marie was very happy and satisfied with her activities, but this was not really the case for her young husband. The latter was not at all happy that his wife went to work and rubbed shoulders with male colleagues, who could take advantage of this promiscuity to disrespect her, because it must be said that Ali Abulaban was clearly jealous of his wife, a jealousy that some could describe as sickly and others downright possessive. The young actor did not even appreciate that his beautiful wife could appear in social networks other than his company. The fact that she had already accumulated more than 11,000 followers on his Instagram account made him literally boil with anger and resentment. One thing led to another, and Ali became even more jealous, and this ugly feeling only grew more and more as Anna's social networks became even larger and her professional activities took up more of her time. Ali began to ask her incessant and insistent questions about her whereabouts and the outfit she wore when she was out, which he considered to be very sexy. This excess of jealousy was going to weigh very quickly on Anna Marie, who could not support such a pressure of her young husband. The couple's relationship turned sour, and the headshots and the scenes of violent households followed one another in this apartment formerly calm and serene, but which had been transformed into a true battlefield. The increasingly violent disputes reached their climax in September 2021 when, after the umpteenth argument, Ali slapped his young wife very brutally. The latter then threw a real hysterical fit and chased her husband out of the house, who went to live in a hotel room. Anna Marie then filed a complaint against her young husband for domestic violence, while initiating the legal procedures for divorce. Obviously, the young comic who had nothing funny left did not hear it this way, and his reaction would quickly manifest itself with violence and unheard-of rage. The young man, who suspected an adulterous affair between his wife and one of his friends, was literally boiling inside and seemed about to explode. Taking advantage of his wife's absence, he broke into the apartment with the duplicate keys that he always had in his possession and set about ransacking the place in a furious outburst. After having thus given himself up to this avalanche of violence, Ali finally calmed down and recovered his spirits. He decided to leave the ransacked apartment, but not without having left a spyware, which he took care to install on the electronic tablet of his little daughter Amina. Thanks to this invisible bug that could transmit live sound, Ali Abulaban could spy on everything that was happening at home and hear the discussions as if he were right in the next room. By using this stratagem worthy of the KGB, the young comedian wanted to make sure that his wife did not cheat on him and that all his suspicions were finally without foundation. It should be said that in spite of all their disputes and their infernal headaches, Ali had never ceased to love his sweetheart and hoped to return to her. So Ali went back to his hotel room, keeping his eyes wide open on his spy application that transmitted everything that was happening in his house. Meanwhile, Anna Marie entered the apartment to discover it completely upside down. The young woman immediately understood that it was her husband who had done it, since the lock of the door had not been broken and that nothing seemed to have been stolen. Completely distraught and shocked by this unexpected intrusion, young Anna decided to call her friend Rayburn Barron to the rescue. But this was a serious mistake on her part, because it was this very man that Ali thought was her lover, and this phone call only confirmed her terrible suspicions. Ali Abulaban continued to listen attentively until he heard a man's laughter in the middle of his apartment. His blood ran cold, knowing that his wife's alleged lover was now in his company and that they were both alone in the house. Ali jumped into his car and sped toward the Spire San Diego building, which he reached in no time. Drunk with anger and grief, the young influencer opened the apartment door on the fly, startling his wife and young friend Baron. The two young people were indeed laughing quietly, both sitting on the same sofa. The sight of his wife embraced by her new lover made the young comedian lose the last drops of cold blood he still had in his veins. The whole earth started to shake under his feet, and Ali remained completely speechless in front of this innocent but painful spectacle for him. A few fractions of a second passed, but it seemed like an eternity for these three characters who had become entangled in this unenviable situation. Still, under the shock of the surprise, the two lovers wanted to get up, but they will never have the opportunity, unfortunately, because the young actor, who thought he was Scarface and Michael Corleone, had already taken out his automatic pistol and started shooting. With a sniper's accuracy, the young man managed to hit the two young lovers, whose lifeless bodies collapsed almost immediately on the ground. Having accomplished his macabre deed, the young murderer finally realized the seriousness of his act, and giving into panic, he decided to leave the place in a hurry. The resounding gunshots had already made some curious people come out of their landings, and Ali knew for sure they had to call the police and that the latter was probably already on the way. The young comedian turned assassin, then rushed into the elevator and left the building in a hurry towards his daughter Amina's school. He had only one idea in head at this stage: It was to go to recover his small adored girl and to flee as far as possible. Once he arrived at the school, Ali picked up Amina and headed down the highway to the eastern part of the state, where he thought he could escape justice for his terrible crime. On the way, Ali Abulaban would contact his mother to confess his horrible act of revenge and inform her that he had become a fugitive criminal and that he would most likely never see her again in his life. An intense and unbearable feeling of guilt began to weigh on Ali's frail shoulders, especially when he thought about his dastardly deed and its harmful consequences. He decided not to run away anymore and to hand himself over to the police, hoping that maybe in this way he would receive some leniency from the justice system. Abulaban was then apprehended and faced 2 counts of first-degree murder, which makes him liable to the death penalty in the state of California. Waiting for his conviction, the young ex-influencer is now languishing behind bars, while probably rehashing the very sad story of his life. He still denies having killed Anna Marie and Barron, and affirms that when he arrived at the apartment, the 2 young people were already dead. And that's it for today. What do you think about the sad and sordid story of Ali Abulaban and his beautiful wife? Do you really think that the latter had betrayed her husband with her young lover? And if so, do you think her murder could have been avoided? Tell us in the comments, and if you liked this video, don't forget to put a like and subscribe and activate the notifications. See you soon for new discoveries out of the ordinary.